Hi there. Welcome to Built Not Bought by Bruce, or welcome back to Built Not Bought by Bruce. Good to have you here. It's time to start putting the Sportster together. I've stripped it down to the frame. I've mentioned this before. Before I paint it, I want to make sure that everything fits. So I'm going to launch into a trial assembly here. I'm going to use all the hardware, the new hardware that I'll use in the final assembly. I need to make sure that everything is the way it should be. I can't stress enough. I do not want to get to a stage where it's painted and I go to put it together and I find out that something doesn't fit or something doesn't clear, or I need a tab, or I forgot that the tab is no longer used and now there's one on the frame that doesn't do anything. I really want to make sure that everything is right. I know too that as I work at this, I'm going to refine some of my ideas. And I want to share as much of this with you as I can. Not because I think I'm a great builder, or not because I'm trying to teach anybody anything or anything like that. But I know there's subscribers out there who are following what I'm doing, and I think it's worthwhile to share what we do as really novice builders, to see how guys do things, and gals too. Don't forget about the gals. We're all builders and we all do things. We all have ideas, and it's good to share that stuff. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here, is simply to share my process. Some of you are going to say, oh man, he sure takes the long way around. Or some of you are going to say, gee, that's maybe not the way I would do that. That's all fair. And your comments are appreciated. And I take them in the spirit they're intended. So please, if you'd like to start a dialogue about a modification or the way this is being done, hey, I'm happy to hear from you. It's all good. We're all a community here. This video starts off with me talking to you right now, but I have some clips here that I'm going to share. You can take a look. This first clip is simply clutch and rotor removal on the primary drive on the Sportster. There's two ways to take the clutch apart. One is to take the whole assembly off. The other is to take just the clutch pack apart. In this case, I went ahead, bought the compressor tool or depress or whatever that is, and pulled out all the clutch discs, because with the new motor I'm going to replace them. And then I pulled the rest of the assembly off. But like I say, all the clutch discs are getting replaced anyway because of the new high-performance motor. I did take the transmission out. The idea here was to lighten it up as much as I could for getting it into the frame and moving it around. When I put this trial assembly together, I don't really care about the internals of the motor because they won't affect anything on the frame, any of the mounting. They're not going to affect any external dimensions. What I did learn from this too is I will assemble the motor in the frame. I don't want to try and wrestle a complete motor into the frame. I know it's nice to build them on a bench, but man, oh man, that thing's heavy. Bikes are tough. You can't use a crane. You can't do anything. Hi there. Well, I started into the trial assembly here, and I got to tell you guys, maybe there's other builders out there who use AutoCAD or something and know where everything is and have it all scoped out and figured out. I kind of shoot more from the hip, and I think I'm probably more like most of you guys and gals, pardon me, who build stuff. So for me, there is some trial and error, probably more than I'd like, but there's trial and error. So I think I've got a picture. I'll share it with you of the mount that I was going to use for the coil. And as it turns out, once I got to this point, I thought, gee, I want to check that mount for the coil. I had just tacked it in place. I didn't finish weld it or anything. And it was sticking out the side here. I've modified this a bit, and I apologize for not taping this right from the beginning. I have to do better at capturing my mistakes rather than just my fixes. Anyway, so I was looking at mounting it here. I had this mount attached to the frame, and with the old coil, I was okay. But with the new ignition system, the coil is slightly different. It's a little bit bigger. The mounting points are just a little bit different. And sure enough, when I went to put it in here, a couple things I was challenged with is, one, I did not realize that there was this strengthening rib right here. The issue with that strengthening rib is where I had the mount, there wasn't enough room for the boot to go on the coil here. That was going to cause me all kinds of problems. And I don't know if you can quite see it, but there's a rib here, so the boot would not go straight onto the coil. The other thing that I discovered is with the electronics box, I was very close with the square piece I was using off of the frame to mount this. And I was wondering, okay, how am I going to get a nut in behind there to do up the bolts? It wasn't looking real good. I was struggling with it. And all of a sudden I looked at this thing and went, oh, Bruce, why are you putting that on the frame when you could mount it right on the electrical box? So that's what I've been working on, is a new mount for the coil that I'm going to weld directly to the box. Part of what I'm doing is I've cut the back side out of the original piece that I had, and then I cut another piece because this was kind of an odd size. It was going to have to be an odd size. So I've cut another piece, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld that to there. If I do that nicely, it'll grind down real smooth. It'll look good. And then when I mount that, when I weld that to the box, it'll hold the coil nicely and cap the ends to make it look even better, finish it off. There'll be no need to access anything inside there. There'll be no extra fasteners into the electrical box because I'll weld it on, and that will put the coil a little further inboard and a little further up, which is going to give me clearance to both of these guys. So that's going to fix the boot problem. It's going to be a cleaner installation, and I've made this thick enough that the coil will sit just off of the box. It won't be touching it. It'll be sitting just off of it. All in all, this should work out pretty well. I think this is a better idea. I think it's a good fix for what I'm up against. I really like the coil back here with some big fat plug wires running up because, of course, as I said before, I really want to keep the area between the V. The intake's going to be polished, and I want to see that from this side of the bike. So having the coil up here would really get in the way of that. And there's not going to be an ignition switch or anything. So relocating the coil, I think it's going to be a cool look. For me, not for everybody, but for what I'm trying to do, I like it. That's where I'm at. I'm going to play around with this some more. I'll take some pictures and stuff so I can add it to the video here. But that is my plan to fix this. I thought I'd show you what I did on the weekend. Boy, this took me a couple days to sort this out. I was showing you earlier that I wasn't really happy with the mount for the coil off of the frame. So I put some still pictures in the video here. I also have a sort of over the shoulder view of what I'm going to do. I just thought I'd let you see how this turned much further with it. The coil now is really nicely mounted in here. With this new mount that I made, I was able to incorporate studs into it so I can use my pipe nuts to mount the coil, which is going to go with all the other trim on the bike, so I'm really happy about that. The location is good, clearances are good, the mount is good and solid. I haven't done the finish welding across the top and bottom yet, because, as I was saying with the trial fit, I want to make sure everything's going to be right. And everything looks good right now, but I don't want to put something in place and then go, son of a gun, that doesn't work. So until I know for sure that everything's perfect here, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Now we can take off our pipe nuts. I'll just loosen them both off so I can spin them by hand there. And get that one off of there. So you can see already here that what I did was incorporated 2 studs into my mount. Now this will come forward and sneak off of there, and that's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle to get it out. But there's the coil out of there. And here's the piece that I made up to mount on the electrical box. So I welded a couple pieces of square tubing together. I cut the one side off of them. What I did with the studs here, these are actually Allen head 1/4 inch national course Allen head bolts, 2 inches long. And what I did, I drilled a 1/4 inch hole on this front piece so that it would be tight on the threads. I actually had to thread them in a little bit to get the bolts in there. On the back side, and you'll see in the picture, on the back side, I drilled the hole just a little bit smaller than the head of the fastener, just a little bit. Then I used 1/4 inch nuts on the front to tighten down on these threads and pull that head of the bolt into the smaller hole. And it wedged it in there real nice. Nice thing about that is it's mounted solid at the back now. It's mounted solid at the front. This is really secure. And once I had that tightened right in and the head was flush with the back surface that was going to attach to the box, I TIG welded all around the head and welded those in there. So these studs are in there solid, they're not going anywhere. Now I can take the rest of the box off. I don't have to, you know, if I had to service the coil, I could just take that one bolt out, loosen off the other 2, tilt it out of the way. But the box comes out, and that's my mount for my coil. I'm going to run a weld along the top, along the bottom, probably on the sides, grind this real nice. This will be a painted piece, so with some filler on there, should look 100%. That's what I wound up doing with this box. Now I'm going to start working on mounting the electrical.